My parents laughed. "You'll never match your brother." I stood up and said, "Then let him cover all the bills. I'm done sending money." My mom was shocked. "What money? We never received a cent from you." My dad looked straight into my eyes across the festive birthday table, the air thick with lemon cleaner and roasted chicken. "You know, Max," he declared, a casual chuckle escaping him, "you'll never be as good as your brother." Then the laughter erupted. My own family, every single one of them, chiming in on the joke. But what happened next was no laughing matter. I'm Max, 28, and I've always been the steady one. The anchor, the guy with the spare batteries, the emergency cash stashed away, the folding chairs ready for any cookout. I pay my rent on time, show up early, and carry a quiet dependability. Ask my parents, and responsible would be their first word, followed closely by quiet. My younger brother, Cole, is his exact opposite. The golden boy, star athlete, that dazzling smile that effortlessly scores him free desserts. He's their showpiece, the subject of every glowing family update, a perpetual highlight reel. New job, new car, a friend in real estate who knows someone huge. It was like a family incantation, a comforting mantra that we were all fine because Cole was shining. I used to quip that I was the background music to Cole's lead solo, but that joke lost its humor around 22. That's when I was working double shifts, still showing up at their place to untangle Wi-Fi woes or change light bulbs because Dad's back hurt and Mom shouldn't be on a ladder. They never once asked how I was, only what I could do for them. 2 months ago, the familiar scene unfolded for Mom's birthday. Dad wore his best polo. Aunt Rita fussed over the flowers, as if their arrangement could somehow enrich the room. I, of course, brought Mom's beloved carrot cake, the one with the ludicrously thick cream cheese frosting. Cole, predictably, sauntered in late. No dessert, no card, just that signature grin and an anecdote about almost meeting a startup founder. The room erupted in adoration, as if he'd just won the lottery. We settled in. Mom unwrapped Aunt Rita's scarf, then a nondescript candle. Then Cole produced a small, elegant box. Earrings. Real silver. He winked. He didn't mention who paid. Mom gasped, clutching them like they were lunar fragments. I don't know why I still harbored the silly expectation of a thank you for the cake. That's entirely on me. Then Dad refilled his wine, glanced at me, and delivered the blow. That line, "You know, Max, you'll never be as good as your brother." He chuckled, a harmless joke he thought. Mom chuckled too. The entire table joined in. Cole, naturally, laughed the loudest. I didn't hear a joke. I heard a verdict. My fork clattered onto the plate. My cheeks flushed, a searing heat creeping up my neck. I started counting, a frantic internal ledger. 11 months of covering their electric last year when Dad's hours were cut. 31 gas fill-ups for Mom's car, just because it needed a little help. 22 transfers marked groceries because the fridge was barren and Cole was between paychecks. I counted it all, like drawing desperate breaths. Aunt Rita, observing my stillness, chirped, "Oh, don't be so sensitive, honey." I wasn't sensitive. I wasn't crying. I was stone cold. Into the chilling silence, Mom added lightly, "We just want you to be more ambitious, that's all." I reached for my water glass. It rattled in my grip. Asterisk, swallow it. Smile. Make a joke. Keep the peace. Asterisk, that's my mantra, what I always do. But then Aunt Rita turned to Cole. "You really are the man of the family." Mom nodded. A small, proud laugh came from Dad's side. "He's the one we can rely on." That word, rely. It wasn't a brick. It was a spear piercing the very core of me. It struck the part that meticulously maintains spreadsheets of due dates and bank transfers. The part that has memorized every account number, Wi-Fi password, and the exact model of their fridge filter. I said nothing. I helped clear plates, box leftovers, wipe the counter. As I grabbed my jacket, Mom hugged me, but her eyes never met mine. She just whispered, "Try not to be jealous of your brother." On my way out, Cole clapped my shoulder. Condescending gesture. "Don't take it personal, man." Outside, the porch light flickered, mirroring my own unsteady world. I stood beneath it, keys in hand, listening to their distant laughter spill through the window. Then I remembered the Zelle notification from that morning. $220 for Mom's groceries. Sent without a second thought, as always. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We love you. Bring paper towels next time. We're out. No heart emoji. No thank you. Just a list. I drove home in silence, the half-eaten carrot cake a cold weight in my fridge. I sat on my couch, staring at the receipts folder in my email, a morbid collection I've been building for years. Little green check marks. $80, $115, $400, $900. It all blurred into an oppressive fog. The next morning, Dad called. His voicemail, "Hey kiddo, don't be dramatic. Family jokes." I played it twice. Then I opened my banking app. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. That night, the crushing realization hit. The joke was on me. Amidst that painful clarity, while confirming the date of a transfer labeled utilities, my screen lit up with a group chat notification. Family dinner Sunday. 6 p.m., don't forget, Mom had written. I stared at those words for a long, quiet time. Something in me finally tilted. This whole money thing began when I was 21. I genuinely believed helping out was simply what good sons did. Dad called one January after a snowstorm. Power bills a little high this month. Can you spot us $120? I'll pay you back Friday. He didn't. He never did. But he asked again in February. We're short on gas money, just until payday. Then March, groceries. Your mom's trying to stretch it. I was earning $17.50 an hour at a tech support desk, living in a studio with a wobbly table and a couch I'd scavenged from Facebook Marketplace. I didn't have much, but I could spare $50 here, $75 there. It felt good to be useful. I told myself I was building trust. By 24, it wasn't spot us anymore. It was a routine. Every first of the month, $300 for utilities. Every third Sunday, $80 for gas. Random Wednesdays, $40 to $100 for groceries. It tallied up to roughly $650 a month consistently for almost 4 years. Some months, it was more. When her car needed new tires, it was $480. When their water heater broke, my card covered the $250 deposit, which somehow became $250 plus $250 plus. We'll square it later. And then there were Kohl's emergencies that were never truly urgent. $200 to register for a certification exam. Landlord's being a jerk. Can you cover half the rent this month? He had a slow month with freelancing. Cole always had a story. I always had a transfer. We never discussed repayment. It was implied. Everything was implied in my family. Help, gratitude, debt. Nothing was ever written down, but it was all meticulously recorded in my banking app. I tried to set a boundary once. I told Mom I couldn't send money until I rebuilt my savings. She sighed dramatically. We'll just die before we ask you again. That promise lasted 2 weeks. She texted a grocery list and a heart emoji. I sent $100. I sent it because I knew the gnawing fear of an empty fridge, and because she always used that worried voice, just this once, which somehow always opened my wallet. It wasn't just money. It was my time. I fixed their Wi-Fi, installed a new thermostat, replaced a bathroom faucet after meticulously watching 3 YouTube tutorials. I drove Cole to interviews, edited his resume, even let him use my address when he couldn't be bothered to redirect his mail. Soon, packages started arriving in my apartment with his name on them. Sneakers, a drone, a gaming headset. Meanwhile, Mom would text me photos of her empty pantry. When I mentioned being tired, Dad would joke, "That's adulthood, kiddo." When I tried to bring up fairness, Aunt Rita would admonish, "Families aren't ledgers." Except in my house, the ledger lived in my pocket. The favoritism wasn't subtle. If Cole showed up with takeout once, Mom would call him generous for a week. If I covered 2 months of their power bill, she'd simply say, "We're all doing our part." On Father's Day, I booked dinner for the 4 of us and paid the check. "You shouldn't have," Dad said, immediately turning to Cole to ask about his big plans at a company where he didn't even have a job yet. The worst part was their real-time revision of history. Last Thanksgiving, Aunt Rita innocently asked who helped with the water heater. Mom beamed at Cole. Our boy made some calls. I looked at my bank app under the table, confirming the $250 plumber's deposit from my account. I said nothing. It was always easier to be quiet than to be labeled dramatic. Meanwhile, my own life remained small. I wasn't struggling, not exactly, but there was always that one bill I'd push a week, that one dinner I'd skip with friends because I just sent $200 for urgent car insurance at 3 p.m. My savings plateaued. When coworkers planned a weekend trip, I'd feign other plans. I didn't have other plans. I had a spreadsheet. I used to think they didn't really know, that maybe the details were fuzzy in their minds. But they knew. They knew because Mom would say things like, "You're so dependable," immediately followed by, "Since you're so good with money." Dad would call on payday, just checking in. Cole would text, "You're a lifesaver, man. I'll pay you back when my commission hits." No commission ever hit. New sneakers did. 3 moments truly stand out, sharp and painful. First, the Christmas I gave Mom a weighted blanket, and she hugged me like I'd handed her a towel at the gym. Cole gave her a spa voucher he'd gotten free through a friend, and she cried tears of joy. Later that night, I found a sticky note on the counter. "Max, could you Venmo $150? We're short on rent." Second, the time my own car needed brakes. I had to choose between paying my mechanic or sending $220 to my parents for overdue electric urgent. I paid theirs. 3 weeks later, Mom posted a photo on Facebook from a fancy restaurant. Much-needed date night. I zoomed in on the wine glasses until the pixels broke. Third, that night of lemon cleaner, the "you'll never be as good" laughter, the word rely like a brick in my chest. That night, after their group chat pinged me about paper towels, I scrolled back to the very first transfer I ever sent. January 14th, 2019, $120. The note read, "Just until Friday." I added it all up. I stopped at $28,940. That didn't even count the cash receipts, the countless gas fill-ups, or the AC repair I put on my car just for points I never used. $28,940. That's a new car or a significant down payment, or a cushion large enough to sleep on without waking in a 3 a.m. panic. I considered printing the list, blowing up the screenshots. I didn't. I made tea. I sat in the quiet, trying to name the hollow feeling. It wasn't anger. It was depletion, a dry well. When Dad's voicemail came the next morning, family jokes, I finally understood. This wasn't a joke. It was a system. They were the storytellers, and I was the supply line. And because systems keep running until someone pulls the plug, the next text arrived right on cue. From Cole. "Hey, you around? I'm $400 short on rent this month. I'd ask Mom and Dad, but they're tight. I'll hit you back when I can. You're the best." He added a flex emoji. I stared at the screen for a long time. I typed, "Let me think." Then I erased it. 2 days later, Mom texted, "We need you Sunday." Dad looked at the bills, and it's not pretty. "Bring your checkbook." Smiley face. A smiley face. "Bring your checkbook." I screenshot it. I didn't reply. I took a day off work and opened a blank document. At the top, I wrote transfers. For 2 hours, I listed dates and amounts. 9 pages. I printed them and put them in a cheap binder from the dollar store. I didn't know if I would use it, but I knew, with absolute certainty, that I was done pretending this was okay. Sunday arrived with a heavy, pre-thunder heat. I parked 2 houses down and carried a grocery bag. Showing up empty-handed is how you lose an argument before it begins. Inside, paper towels. I rang the bell. Dad opened the door, looming like a principal. Mom sat at the dining table, calculator poised, a stack of envelopes beside her. Cole leaned against the counter, engrossed in his phone. Finally, Mom said brightly, "We were just talking about our plan." "Great," I said and set the bag down. Dad tapped the calculator. "We've been doing the numbers. With interest rates and inflation, we need a family approach. We're thinking everyone contributes monthly until things stabilize." "Everyone," Cole echoed, without looking up. I pulled out the binder and placed it squarely on the table. "Before we talk about a plan, can we talk about the last 4 years?" Mom blinked. "What's that?" "Receipts," I stated. "Money I've sent for utilities, groceries, car repairs, rent. All of it. I might have missed a few." Dad's mouth tightened. "Max, this is not the time to play accountant." "It's exactly the time." I slid my phone across the table, opened to my banking app. The transfers are all there. "Notes, dates. If you want, I can print statements. Dad pushed the phone back as if it had scorched him. This is disrespectful. What's disrespectful, I countered, my voice steady, is rewriting my entire life while asking for my checkbook. I've covered your bills since 2019. I could list them one by one, but you can read. Cole finally looked up, annoyance etched on his face. Dude, why are you making this weird? It's family. Exactly, I said. Family doesn't deny reality when they're caught. Family says, thank you. Mom's eyes flashed. After all we've done for you, the greatest hits album, I thought. You're gonna throw money in our faces? I'm not throwing it. I'm acknowledging it. I took a slow, deep breath. My hands, surprisingly, were steady. You depended on me for years. You've called me dependable and then laughed about me being quiet while assigning me the bill. Today, I'm not quiet. Dad leaned forward, a challenge in his gaze. So, what do you want? A parade? A medal? I want boundaries, I stated, my voice clear. No more monthly transfers. No more emergency Venmos. If you need help, you ask in advance, and you accept no for an answer. Cole scoffed. Then tell him to pay all the bills, I said, turning to Dad. If I'm never as good as my brother, let the golden child be the safety net. Mom stood, outraged. How dare you pit brothers against each other? I'm not, I said calmly. You did that a long time ago. The air felt heavy, oppressive, but my heartbeat didn't accelerate. It felt slow and even like a metronome. I thought I would shake. I didn't. This isn't about revenge, I added, my voice low, firm. This is about closure. Dad's jaw worked, wordless. So you're cutting us off. I'm ending a system that has been bleeding me dry. I clarified. I'm not your bank. I'm your son. Mom stared at the binder, as if it might bite. We never asked you to. You exaggerated. Those were gifts. You love us. I do, I said. And loving you cannot mean bankrupting myself, financially or emotionally. Cole let out a single, sharp laugh. Whatever, man. I picked up the binder, slid the paper towels across the counter, and walked towards the door. Max, Mom called out, her voice laced with panic. Don't walk away. You can't just, I can, I said, my hand on the doorknob. And I am. I stepped into the suffocating heat. The door closed behind me like a definitive full stop. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. 12 missed calls. Then 18. By the time I pulled into my apartment lot, it was 31. I put the phone face down on the counter and made pasta. I ate standing up, staring at the binder like it was radioactive. When I finally checked my phone, I had 47 unread messages. Mom, you're confused. Come back and talk this out. Dad, you owe us the respect of a conversation. Aunt Rita, money isn't everything, sweetheart. Cole, you really think this makes you the hero? I didn't reply that night. I turned off notifications, cleaned my sink, and went to bed at 9:30, like the most boring rebel alive. I slept 8 hours for the first time in months. Monday, the narrative machine kicked into high gear. A cousin texted, heard you blew up at dinner. You okay? My grandmother left a voicemail that was 2 full minutes of sighing. Dad wrote a group message about entitlement and forgetting where you came from. Mom posted a Facebook status about kids these days with a praying hands emoji. I had anticipated anger. What truly surprised me was the immediate, wholesale revision of history. Like a live show with a brand new, wrong script, messages shifted from "we never received money" to "we never asked for money" to "those were gifts" to "you never said it was hard." I screenshotted each version, not to send, but to inoculate myself against future self-doubt. At work, I backed up the binder as PDFs. Then I did something small that felt monumentally huge. I opened my bank app and canceled 3 recurring transfers: utilities, gas, groceries. The app prompted, "Are you sure?" I hit yes. My chest felt simultaneously empty and light. The calls kept coming. Mom alternated between sobbing and sounding like a customer service representative. "We can start fresh," she said on one voicemail. "Let's just agree on a number. Maybe $300 a month." Dad tried logic. We're a unit. Everyone does their part. Cole sent me a Venmo request for $400 with a note. Rent. I declined it. He sent a question mark. I didn't answer. Midweek, Aunt Rita invited me for coffee. Not an ambush, I promise. It was absolutely an ambush. She greeted me with a hug that smelled of powder and launched into a speech I'm sure she'd rehearsed in her car. Let's not burn bridges over a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? I asked. She smiled, the kind of smile people reserve for children they think are 5. You embarrassed your parents. They feel attacked. They felt attacked by math, I stated. She sighed. You know your mother. She worries. She says you didn't tell her you were keeping track. So, gratitude only counts if I don't keep a receipt? I asked. Got it. She blinked. You're being unkind. I'm being accurate. I paid for my own coffee and left before she could weaponize accuracy into cruelty. By Friday, the tone shifted. The group chat pinged. Family meeting Sunday. I typed, I won't be there, and sent it before the fear could edit me. Mom replied instantly. You think you're better than us now? Dad added, don't forget who raised you. Cole texted, you've always been jealous, bro, sad. I muted the chat. I made a grocery list with exactly what I wanted. Berries, pasta, salmon, a kind of fancy yogurt I usually skip because it's not necessary. I bought it. I ate it with a spoon the size of my new boundaries. Little practical changes followed. I set up a savings transfer for the same dates and amounts I used to send them. Watching $300 slide into my own account on the first of the month was like unlocking a window. I booked a dentist appointment I'd been putting off. I called a therapist and said, I need help untangling guilt from responsibility. She said, that's a job I do a lot. At night, the temptation to explain buzzed in me like a mosquito. To send a long, calm message with screenshots, numbered lists, and I statements. I didn't. Explaining to people committed to not hearing you is performance art. I didn't have the energy. Still, it hurt. The ache surprised me. I missed the version of our family I kept trying to build with my money and my silence. There were good memories threaded in there. Mom's chicken noodle soup when I was sick, Dad teaching me to change a tire, Cole and I laughing at stupid memes. It's easier to keep paying a tax when you call it love. 2 weeks in, the calls slowed. The guilt didn't vanish, but it grew quieter. Then the spin went public. A neighbor sent me a screenshot of Mom's post. Raising kids is hard when they forget your sacrifices. Some people think everything is about money. Comments poured. In prayers. Stay strong. Kids these days. Cole posted an Instagram story of his new sneakers with the caption, self-made. I almost laughed. I started running again. Not to be dramatic, but my body needed somewhere to put the tension. 3 miles, then 4. I listened to a podcast about boundaries. The host said, say no without a paragraph. I practiced in the mirror. No, it felt like a secret language. The third Sunday, the day I used to send gas money, I drove past my parents' house. Old habit. I parked a street away and sat there like a ghost. Through the window, I could see them around the table. My chair was empty. I felt loss and relief braided together. That makes its own kind of grief, I guess. The next day, a new number called. It was Dad's coworker's wife, the one who gave Mom a candle. Your parents are under a lot of stress, she began. Could you? No, I said. Silence. You didn't even let me finish. I didn't need to, I replied. No, it wasn't mean. It was a full sentence. I hung up and felt okay. A week later, an email arrived from a collections company, addressed to my parents, but sent to me because my address was still on some old form. Past due, $312. A year ago, I would have paid it quietly. Instead, I forwarded it to Mom and Dad with the subject line, this is your bill, not mine. Mom replied, why are you being cruel? I typed and deleted 20 versions of I'm not. I closed the laptop and went for a run. When I returned, there was one more email in my inbox. Not from my parents, but from Cole. Subject, be real, buddy. The message, we all know you like holding this over us. You always wanted to be the hero. Congrats, you win. I stared at it, and the anger finally showed up. Not loud, just sharp. I replied with one sentence. I wanted to be your son. He didn't write back. That night, I set a new rule that sounds silly written out. I will not open the banking app after 9 p.m. There is nothing in there that can fix my family at 9:01. I put my phone on the other side of the room. I slept. Here's what I know now. I can love my family and still refuse to finance their denial. I can be dependable without being a doormat. I can say no and not add a paragraph to make everyone else comfortable. I don't know anyone my exhaustion. I don't know anyone my savings. I don't know anyone the version of me that makes their lives easier at the expense of my own. I'm not sending money anymore. Not because I'm angry, though sometimes I am. Not because I need them to suffer. I don't. But because I'm done pretending this is normal. If they ask for help in good faith, clear, specific, with respect, I'll decide case by case. If they try to guilt me, rewrite history, or make my boundaries the problem, the answer is simple. No. The binder is in my closet. I don't look at it often. It's not a trophy. It's a record. A reminder that I'm not crazy. When doubt creeps in, I flip to a page, read a few lines, and then close it. I don't need to keep tallying. The math already did its job. Mom and Dad still text sometimes. They send photos of the dog. They don't say thank you for the years I helped. Maybe they never will. That's their story. Mine is different now. It starts with my name is Max, but it doesn't end with reliable. It ends with self-respect. I'm building a new routine. Sunday mornings are for runs and pancakes. The first of the month is for moving money into my own savings. The third Sunday is for calling a friend and making plans I don't cancel. The binder stays shut. If I had to distill it into one line, the line I wish someone had given me at 21, it would be this: asterisk, this isn't about revenge. This is about closure. Asterisk, and here's my final promise to myself, simple and solid. I won't let anyone turn my love into a bill. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to choose between your own well-being and a family system that just takes? Tell me what you think in the comments.